I had an ambiguous relationship with Henry as friends for 7 years, until my 22nd birthday, when I endured the pain of my period and blocked the wine for him. I heard his conversation with his friends. Pour a few more glasses for Mona. I'll send Polly away later to avoid her pestering me. Someone asked. I thought you really liked Mona all these years. He chuckled. When I'm lonely, I always need someone to relieve it. Mona is pretty and clean, but compared to Polly, she's just mediocre. That night, Henry booked all the billboards in the city and gave his first love a grand confession. I curled up on the cold hospital bed and deleted all the memories of him in the past 7 years with trembling hands. He was certain that I would pester him again just like before. Until a few months later, at the wedding banquet of the Lawson family, he ran into me in a white wedding dress. His hands couldn't help but tremble. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins. Henry's 22nd birthday party booked the entire bar. He has a lot of friends and always likes to be in a lively atmosphere. However, he seemed a bit out of sorts today. Hey, buddy, are you being unfriendly? A friend held up a wine glass with a hint of dissatisfaction. Henry leaned against the booth, and his gaze fell on the phone screen from time to time. He lazily raised his hand and stroked my head. Mona, help me block the wine. I covered my lower abdomen and whispered in his ear. Henry, I'm on my period. Upon hearing this, he stretched out his long hand and put his arm around my waist. When he lowered his head, his lips almost touched my cheek. My ears turned red instantly. Meeting his eyes, he smiled and pinched my waist. Good Mona, just help me drink 2 glasses. It's also your birthday today, and everyone is toasting you. Henry is 3 days older than me. Since we were children, we have always celebrated our birthdays together. Looking at his pleading expression, my heart softened again. I forced myself to drink 2 glasses of wine. I just felt that the pain in my lower abdomen became more intense, so I had to put down the wine glass. Sorry, I'm on my period and can't drink too much. Before I could finish speaking, several boys burst into laughter. On your period? Then isn't it like drinking on the top and bleeding on the bottom? Damn, when you say that, I can really picture it. Aren't you disgusting? We're eating. Hearing these teasing words, I felt both embarrassed and ashamed. But Henry seemed not to have heard them. He just stared straight at his phone, until someone exclaimed, Wow, Polly is actually here. He suddenly stood up and knocked over the wine glass. The wine splashed on my skirt, leaving a stain. I looked at his staggering back running towards the door, and my nails dug deeply into my palm. In the past 7 years, I had never seen Henry with such an expression. Excited, flustered, and unable to hide his joy. Polly was dressed in an exquisite Chanel-style outfit, exuding a rose fragrance, and she arrived late. She stood at the door, with the light behind her, holding a small bouquet of roses in her arms. Someone exclaimed, Wow, Polly is so beautiful now. She's such a goddess. She was the class beauty before. Okay. There were lines of boys chasing her. She didn't say anything. Her gaze passed through the crowd, and she just looked at Henry quietly. Henry stopped in his tracks, his hanging fingers trembling slightly, and he also looked at her from a distance. There was a strong affection churning in their eyes, as if everything had stood still. After looking at each other for a moment, the two smiled at each other. Long time no see, classmate Henry. Long time no see, classmate Polly. I was stunned. What a beautiful reunion after a long separation. I suddenly felt pathetic and ridiculous. The pain in my lower abdomen swept over me again, and I curled up slightly. Polly's gaze fell on me, and she tilted her head and smiled. Mona is here too. She flicked her curly long hair. Right. You and Henry have always been inseparable. It seemed unintentional, but it was somewhat suggestive. Upon hearing this, Henry patted my shoulder and said boldly, Mona, she's my good buddy. Just pure friendship. Don't think of her as a woman. Then, he reminded me again. Say hello. These words were like a basin of cold water poured over my head. Henry and I have known each other since childhood, and our families have a good relationship. I always thought that we liked each other. When someone confessed to me at school, he would get angry and drive the person away, and he would say domineeringly, You're mine. In class, he would secretly hold my hand under the desk. Even, he would be more daring and try to unbutton my clothes. Polly was a transfer student who came in the 3rd year of high school. She had a pure appearance and a soft voice, which naturally aroused people's desire to protect her. Later, someone spread the rumor that her mother was a mistress and she was an illegitimate child. When someone bullied her in the class, Henry would always step forward. The story of the prince and the Cinderella spread like wildfire in the school. I asked him if he liked Polly, and he just said, "I just feel sorry for her." However, Polly disappeared before the college entrance examination. Later, I heard that she applied to a university abroad. At the gathering after the college entrance examination, Henry kissed me when he was drunk. Later, we applied to the same university. We would go on dates like a couple, holding hands and kissing. But he had never formally introduced me. At friends' gatherings, he would just say, "She's my friend." When someone teased, "Is she your girlfriend?" he wouldn't deny it. Even when someone would call me sister-in-law, he wouldn't stop them. Now, he said that I'm his good buddy. Yes, a good buddy who can kiss. How ironic. Polly sat beside Henry. The two of them looked at each other, and their gazes were filled with affection. I tightly held the wine glass, and a piercing pain came from my lower abdomen. At this moment, I seemed to suddenly understand the meaning of the saying that when the first love appears, everyone else pales in comparison. At the moment, I just wanted to escape from this extremely embarrassing situation. I stood up and gave the gift to Henry. "Henry, this is a gift for you." As soon as I took a step, someone exclaimed, "Wow, isn't this the watch that Henry has been wanting for a long time?" Mona actually managed to buy it. Henry likes collecting watches. This watch is a limited edition worldwide, and I even asked my dad to use his connections to buy it from Europe. But he just took a quick glance at it and didn't even move it. "Thanks." His gaze then stuck to Polly again. There was a soft arc on his lips that I had never seen before. Someone asked, "What gift did Polly bring for Henry?" Polly was a bit embarrassed for a moment. "Sorry, I came in a hurry and didn't prepare anything. I saw an old woman selling flowers on the way, so I bought a bouquet from her." She bit her lip in embarrassment, then lowered her eyes and said self-deprecatingly, "Of course, it can't compare with Mona's. I'd better not take it out and make a fool of myself." As she said that, she hid the bouquet of roses behind her back. It was a bouquet of slightly withered red roses, only 5 or 6 branches, wrapped in the most tacky white plastic paper. But Henry couldn't wait to take it, holding it as if it were a rare treasure. "Thank you. I like it very much. This is the best gift I've ever received." However, he clearly hates red roses the most. "I'm glad you like it." Polly raised her wine glass to me and smiled sweetly. "Long time no see, Mona. I also wish you a happy birthday in advance." I held the wine glass and tried to force a smile. "Sorry, I'm on my period and can't drink." Polly's hand froze in midair, and her expression was a bit embarrassed. "Someone teased me, Mona. That's not very nice of you. You were clearly drinking with us just now." "Yeah, why can't you drink when it comes to Polly? Why do women make things difficult for each other?" I stood there, stunned. I didn't know how to explain, but Henry turned his head and warned me in a cold voice, "Mona, don't target Polly." The lively atmosphere suddenly turned cold. The way everyone looked at me had a bit more of a sense of watching a good show. Suddenly, I remembered that many years ago, he seemed to have said the same thing. "Mona, Polly is very innocent. Don't target her." From beginning to end, Polly has always been the innocent and kind female lead, while I am the vicious supporting female character. The pain in my lower abdomen mixed with the pain in my stomach surged up. I endured it and explained to him, "I'm not targeting her. I'm really suffering from menstrual pain." Henry frowned, and a look of impatience flashed in his eyes. "You have your period every month, don't you? Why are you being so melodramatic? It's just a glass of wine. Why do you want to embarrass Polly?" Seeing him like this, some people also started whispering. Everyone knows that Henry liked Polly in school. Mona must be extremely jealous. It's no use playing the victim. Polly is his first love. Henry can't even see anyone else now. The atmosphere was awkward for a while. It was Polly who quietly tugged at Henry's sleeve. "Henry, forget it. Mona didn't mean it. Maybe she's really not feeling well." Henry still had a cold expression and reminded me in a deep voice, "Mona, don't go too far." The light from the chandelier made my eyes ache. I stood up and drank the wine in the glass in one gulp. The strong liquor slid down my throat, mixed with tears, and rushed into my stomach. "Is that okay?" Glimpsing my red eyes, Henry lowered his eyes. He didn't say anything more. I just felt a piercing pain in my lower abdomen, and cold sweat instantly soaked my whole body. I covered my stomach and fled to the bathroom in an embarrassing way. Sounds faintly came through the door. First, Henry and Polly sang a sweet duet. Later, someone egged them on and asked them to kiss. I was shaking all over from the pain and could hardly stand up. The mirror in the bathroom reflected my pale face, looking extremely embarrassed. Not long after, Henry's smiling voice came from the next door. Pour a few more glasses for Mona. I'll send Polly away later to avoid her pestering me. Someone asked. She's on her period. Can she drink that much wine? Henry said indifferently. It's okay. She won't die. Someone else teased him. I thought you really liked Mona all these years. It seems that you've forgotten your old love as soon as the new love arrives. Henry chuckled. When I'm lonely, I always need someone to relieve it. Mona is pretty and clean, but compared to Polly, she's just mediocre. Every word was like a knife cutting at my heart. I bit my lip tightly, trying not to let myself cry out and become a laughingstock again. The smell of blood spread on my tongue. There were still the marks he left yesterday. At that time, he kissed me passionately in the dark movie theater and smiled wickedly. Put a stamp on it. And you're mine. I foolishly thought that that was love. Little did I know that I was just a comfort for him when he was lonely. Just mediocre. When I came out of the bathroom, the crowd had already dispersed. On the table, the watch I gave Henry was now lying alone in the midst of the mess of cups and plates. And Polly's roses were already gone. Sure enough, for the one you love, even a blade of grass is a treasure. I endured the pain and slowly moved to the door to hail a taxi. But it was too remote here, and no one took the order for a long time. The winter wind cut at my face, and there was a piercing pain in my stomach. I squatted on the ground and couldn't help crying. I don't know how long it took. A Maybach slowly stopped in front of me. The window rolled down, and a cold voice sounded. Mona, what's wrong? I looked up blankly and found that it was Henry's uncle. Joshua, uncle, can you take me to the hospital? I didn't care about anything else and weakly asked Joshua for help. He quickly got out of the car and carried me to the passenger seat. Then he turned up the temperature of the car's air conditioner. What's wrong? Where do you feel uncomfortable? He turned his head to look at me, his eyes full of concern. I took a deep breath and tried to force a smile. It's okay. I'm having menstrual pain. He frowned, as if he smelled the alcohol on me. Why did you drink wine when you have menstrual pain? His tone also became stern immediately. Where's Henry? Why are you alone? I lowered my head and clenched my fingers tightly. He left. Joshua didn't say anything, but he drove the car very fast. After getting out of the car, he took off his coat and wrapped it tightly around my shivering body, and carried me into the hospital. In the emergency room of the hospital, the doctor looked at him and was a bit dissatisfied. Are you the patient's boyfriend or brother? Joshua was taken aback for a moment and replied, Brother, why did you dare to drink wine during your period? Don't you know that it will worsen the menstrual pain and cause massive bleeding? How can you be a brother? You can't even take care of your sister. Facing the doctor's scolding, he politely admitted his mistakes one after another. Although Joshua is not much older than us younger generations, we have all been afraid of him since we were children. He has a cold personality and is mature beyond his years. Now that he is the head of the Lawson family, even my dad respects him a lot. Now, because of me, he is being criticized by the doctor here like a primary school student. I lowered my head and apologized in a muffled voice. Uncle, I've caused you trouble. It's not troublesome. You rest first, and I'll go pay the fees. He took a bunch of forms and handed me a bag. When I took it, I realized that there were 2 packs of sanitary pads inside. I sniffled, and my heart warmed up involuntarily. After getting in 4 drip, the pain was relieved a lot. I leaned against the hospital bed and turned on my phone. I saw Henry's latest Instagram update. The person who made my heart flutter at first sight still makes my heart flutter when I meet them again. The picture was of Henry holding Polly, and his coat was wrapped around Polly's thin shoulders. The billboard in the background on the central square of the city said, Polly, I love you. The comment section was full of blessings. Many people in the Instagram also took pictures of the billboard. I wonder which rich young master is chasing a girl. Tonight, everyone in the city knows Polly. I really envy Polly. I want to be Polly. Looking at the comments one by one, tears welled up in my eyes instantly. I realized it later. Henry had never posted about me in his Instagram. He always said that he was too lazy to post. When I posted about him, he never liked it. He said he didn't have that habit. Henry has been the center of attention since he was a child and is used to being sought after by everyone. I thought he was arrogant and wouldn't take the initiative to love someone. It turned out that he just didn't know how to love me. I scrolled through everything about him on my phone. With trembling hands, I deleted them one by one. But 7 years is too long. There were too many things about him. In the summer when I was 18, he said that we would apply to the same university and never be apart. On New Year's Eve when I was 19, he held my face and said, "Mona is the most beautiful in the world." On a snowy day when I was 20, we hugged each other in the snow. And he said, "I like Mona the most." On my 21st birthday, my family said that we would get married after graduation. And he didn't refuse. I don't understand. Is it possible to do these things to someone you don't love? These 7 years were like a one-man show of my own. I curled up on the cold hospital bed and frantically deleted everything about him, until the phone was suddenly snatched out of my hand. I looked up blankly. I was stunned to see Joshua standing in front of my bed holding a cup of hot water, his expression unreadable. "Uncle, why haven't you left yet?" He handed me the water cup and said, "I'm staying here with you." I lowered my head and held the water cup, feeling embarrassed as I replied, "It's not necessary. You're so busy. I'm already okay now." He stood up and adjusted the flow rate of the 4-drip tube slower, and said to me, "Get some sleep." My eyes were fixed on the phone he had confiscated, feeling rather awkward. The screen was still on a photo of Henry and me. He took a glance at it and showed no expression. "I'll delete it for you." After saying that, he reached out and turned off the lights on the ceiling. There was only a small lamp in front of the bed, emitting a dim light. Joshua really sat in front of my bed and seriously helped me delete the things on the phone. I felt a bit embarrassed, but my body was extremely tired, and in the end, I didn't know when I actually fell asleep. Later, when I woke up in a daze, I saw him holding my phone in one hand and the 4-drip tube in the other. I called him vaguely, "Uncle, the medicine is too cold. You'll feel uncomfortable if it's infused like this." He looked up at the 4 bottle and said, "Go back to sleep. It's still early." My nose stung. I suddenly remembered that a few months ago, when I had a cold, Henry insisted on dragging me to go skiing. On the way, I told him I was cold. He smiled and said, "Fortunately, I dressed warmly." Then he said to me, "You won't be cold if you do some exercise." However, he clearly would also drape his coat over someone else. I slept very soundly that night. When I woke up, it was already broad daylight, and the 4 bottle beside me was gone. There was a knock on the door of the ward, and a young man in a suit came in. "Miss Mona, I'm Mr. Joshua's assistant." Mr. Joshua flew to Berlin early in the morning. He specifically instructed me to send you home. He went abroad. I was stunned. He stayed up all night in the hospital last night and then had to take a plane abroad this morning. I suddenly felt extremely guilty, and I deeply regretted causing him such trouble. When Joshua's assistant sent me home, Henry and his parents were actually at my house. "Mona, I brought Henry here to apologize to you in person." Uncle Pei smiled. I was a bit surprised for a moment. The events of yesterday had actually reached the ears of the elders. "Mona, I'm sorry. I really didn't know that you can't drink wine during your period." Henry looked at me with a somewhat regretful expression on his face. "I didn't check my phone last night. My uncle has already scolded me. Please don't be angry anymore." As he spoke, he handed me a familiar packaging bag. "This is a birthday gift for you. I forgot to give it to you yesterday." I took a quick look. It was as I expected. Every year on my birthday, he would give me a bag of that brand. But he didn't know that I wasn't interested in bags at all. However, he said that bags can cure all kinds of problems and that it was the best gift. Ms. Lawson also came to speak up for him. "Mona." Henry was confused for a moment. "You can hit him or scold him. You two have such a good relationship. Auntie is still waiting for you to be my daughter-in-law." It seemed that his parents were still unaware of Polly. I composed myself, reacting. I replied politely, "Auntie, Henry already has a girlfriend. Didn't you see his Instagram yesterday?" The couple from the Lawson family looked at each other suspiciously and picked up their phones. A few seconds later, they were furious. "Henry, you actually got involved with that illegitimate daughter again. What a nice girl Mona is. How could you treat her like this?" Even my parents were very surprised and questioned him one after another. "Henry, are you with another girl behind Mona's back?" Henry stood there, his breathing heaving violently, and he looked in a very bad mood. He gritted his teeth, looked up at me, and said unhappily, "Mona, you drank a few glasses of wine for me yesterday and weren't feeling well. I've already apologized to you. But isn't it interesting for you to engage in moral kidnapping about our matter?" After saying that, he looked at my parents again. "Uncle and Auntie, I grew up with Mona, and we have a good relationship. But I think you might have misunderstood. We're just friends. Mona likes to cling to me and may have some feelings for me, but I only regard her as my sister. We haven't had any relationship either. Mona is still innocent. If you don't believe it, you can ask her." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone looked at me in disbelief. I tightly twisted my fingers. I opened my mouth but didn't know how to speak. "Mona, what on earth is going on between you and Henry?" My parents held back their anger and questioned me. Henry's parents were also waiting for my answer. In the past 7 years, Henry and I had done all kinds of intimate things. Only the last step of physical intimacy, he always held back and said he wanted to save it for later. I originally thought that he cherished me, but I didn't know that he just didn't want to take responsibility. Facing the questioning of the elders from both sides, what could I say? Say that we hugged and kissed, even if we didn't have a real relationship. There were many borderline behaviors. Such private matters were already embarrassing to discuss in public. Henry was certain that I couldn't refute him. I closed my eyes and forced a smile. "Yes, we are just friends. Let it be like this." As he wished. After Henry left, my father couldn't hold it in any longer. He pointed at me and scolded me, hating that I couldn't live up to expectations. "Mona, you've really embarrassed us. Your mother and I have doted on you and raised you so well. You've been chasing after someone for 7 years. Don't you have any self-respect?" I stood there. Guilt, shame, embarrassment, all kinds of emotions piled up together, drowning and suffocating me. At this moment, I felt that I was really terrible. The relatives and friends of both sides all knew that Henry and I were going to get married after graduation. Now, I had made my parents lose face because of me. I opened my mouth, but my throat seemed to be choked by something. "I'm sorry." My mother looked at me with pity, walked quickly over, and hugged me. "Mona, your father isn't really angry with you. Your mother and I just feel sorry for you. Our daughter, who we've cherished since childhood, is in no way inferior, yet she's been so belittled by someone." The tears that I had held back for so long could no longer be controlled. "I'm sorry, Mom. Will my matter with Henry affect our family's business?" Our family and the Lawson family had many cooperative industries. Originally, the two families also planned to let us get married after graduation. Now that things had turned out like this, it would be awkward for us to meet again. My father angrily slapped the table. "We just won't cooperate anymore. Our family won't starve to death without this money. There are plenty of good men in the world. Your father will definitely find you a guy who is 10,000 times better than Henry." My heart was instantly filled with mixed emotions. I felt guilty that my actions had made my parents lose face, and I was also touched that no matter when, it turned out that only my parents were my greatest support. I secretly cursed myself. "Mona, you've been stupid for 7 years. It's time to wake up." After resting groggily at home for 2 days, my good friend sent me a long message. "Mona, I heard that Henry broke up with his family because of Polly. Do you know that Polly is actually an illegitimate daughter? Her mother tried to gain a higher status by having a child, but unfortunately, she didn't succeed. She was dumped by the old man a few years later. Do you remember that she went abroad as soon as she graduated from school? It turned out that Henry's parents gave her a sum of money to keep her away from Henry, but as soon as she graduated, she came to pester Henry again. Now Henry's parents have a very tough attitude. They said that unless they die, Henry can't marry Polly. Now Henry has had his credit card cut off and is accompanying Polly to live a hard life. I don't know how long this young master can hold on." I wasn't too surprised. The Lawson family has always had a clean family style. It was normal that Polly's background wasn't accepted. It was unexpected that Henry really loved her. He even went so far as to break up with his family for her. In his Instagram, he posted a photo of their hands interlaced. The caption was, "I want to ask if you dare to be as crazy about love as I am." Now that I had sobered up, when I saw the news about them, I didn't feel much of a stir. After seeing through him, I was actually glad that I hadn't had a relationship with him. However, I was curious about how much suffering this young master, who had been living a carefree life since childhood, could endure for true love. Just as I was lost in thought, my mother knocked on the door and came in. "Baby, have you had a good rest these few days?" I nodded. "Yeah, I feel alive again." My mother, as if performing a magic trick, suddenly smiled all over her face and opened her phone mysteriously. The fastest way to forget a failed relationship is to start a new one. "Look, these are all the boys that your father and I have chosen for you. They are all over 180 centimeters tall, handsome, have a good figure, and come from good families. Take a look. Do any of them catch your eye?" I looked at the photos on my mother's phone and couldn't help but laugh and cry. But in order not to make them worry, I picked the most handsome one and pointed. "This one is not bad." My mother was very excited. My daughter really knows how to choose. This is the youngest son of Uncle Han's family. He's a master's graduate from a prestigious Ivy League school and has just returned to China to inherit the family business. These 2 days, I had also figured it out. It was extremely stupid of me to have wasted 7 years of my youth because of Henry. A rotten dish should have been decisively thrown away long ago. Once you enter a dead end, you should turn around in time. I used to think that I was lucky not to have an arranged marriage and could have a long-lasting relationship with my childhood sweetheart. Now that I thought about it, an arranged marriage might not be a bad thing. The people selected by my parents might not be worse than the one I chose myself. I picked out a suitable outfit, put on delicate makeup, and prepared to meet the person on the blind date. However, when I went downstairs, I unexpectedly found that Joshua was actually in the living room. The fat orange cat was happily rubbing against his leather shoes, and he wasn't annoyed. He bent slightly and gently stroked the cat's fur with his slender fingers. "Joshua, for such a small matter, there's no need for you to come in person. You can just ask your assistant to come next time." Joshua straightened up, still looking gentle and polite. "Mr. Lawrence, I heard that you've cut off all cooperation with my cousin." My father still had a polite attitude towards him. "We won't cooperate with the Lawson family's business in the future. Since there's no fate for our families to become in-laws, we should reduce our interactions." Upon hearing this, Joshua lowered his head and apologized. "The younger generation of the Lawson family has caused you trouble with their ignorance." My father waved his hand. "It has nothing to do with you. I heard that it was you who sent Mona to the hospital that day. I still need to thank you." After saying that, out of the corner of his eye, he saw me coming downstairs and beckoned to me. "Mona, haven't you thanked Mr. Joshua yet?" I obediently walked up to him, thinking of what happened that day. I felt both grateful and a bit embarrassed. "Thank you, Mr. Joe." The words were on the tip of my tongue, but I quickly swallowed them back. "Mr. Joshua." His gaze fell on me, and his eyes flickered slightly, as if hiding a trace of an imperceptible smile. "You're welcome. Where are you going?" Asked by him like this, I suddenly felt a bit embarrassed. "Going on a blind date," my father explained beside me. "The youngest son of Mr. John has just returned to China. We've arranged for the 2 children to meet." Joshua smiled in agreement. "Mr. John's youngest son is a very handsome and talented man. He's also an elite graduate from an Ivy League school. He's indeed very excellent." However, he paused and then changed the subject. "But you may not know that Mr. Han and his wife have had a poor relationship for many years and have been separated for a long time. Mrs. Han has an extremely autocratic personality. I think if Mona marries into their family, she won't have a peaceful life." My father was shocked for a moment. "Is that so?" "No way. With Mona's personality, she'll definitely be bullied." He quickly stopped me. "Daughter, you should choose again carefully." I stood there with an awkward fake smile, inadvertently looking at Joshua. I always felt that when his gaze fell on me, there was a fleeting smile, as if he was watching an interesting play. He put away his smile and seriously looked at my father. "Mr. Lawrence, I do have a candidate in mind." My father looked curious and quickly asked, "Who?" Joshua slightly nodded his head and uttered a word. "Me." As soon as these words were spoken, my father and I were both shocked. The atmosphere suddenly became quiet. However, Joshua looked very calm. It was as if he had expected our reaction and calmly said, "Now almost everyone in the circle knows that the Lawson family is going to have an arranged marriage with the Sway family. Because of Henry's farce, both families have lost face. Our two families have been in contact for many years and have deep business cooperation. Breaking off the relationship will be of no benefit to either side. Since it's an arranged marriage, Henry doesn't have that luck. But there are more than just Henry among the men in the Lawson family. I think I'm better than him and am the most suitable candidate. My father looked very embarrassed and confused. Aren't you going to have an arranged marriage with the daughter of the Cheen family? Joshua smiled softly and said in a relaxed tone, "It's just a rumor." My father still looked very puzzled and couldn't figure it out. Mr. Joshua, to be honest, with your current wealth and status, you can definitely marry a partner from a higher family background and more suitable for you. Why do you want to choose Mona? Moreover, there's a bit of an age gap between you two. Joshua shook his head. Only you can know what's suitable or not. Both families thought that Mona and Henry were the most suitable. But the result is obvious. Mr. Lawrence should know my character. I'm not acting on impulse. His expression was extremely serious and firm. My father was at a loss for a moment and could only prevaricate. For this matter, it's still up to Mona to make the decision. I stood there, taking a long time to react. I was trying to digest all this sudden information. After a long while, I took a deep breath and said calmly, "I'm willing." As soon as the words were out, even on Joshua's always calm and composed face, the shock was hard to hide. I looked straight at him and added, "But I have a condition. I want to get married as soon as possible." Joshua was taken aback for a moment, seemingly not expecting me to make such a request. Then he raised his wrist and looked at his watch, motioning to me, "Go get the certificates. The Civil Affairs Bureau hasn't closed yet." Okay. At this moment, my father finally came to his senses and quickly pulled me aside. "Mona, marriage is a major event in one's life. You can't be impulsive." I smiled, but I was extremely serious. "Dad, I'm not being impulsive. Marrying Joshua is a good deal no matter how you look at it. From a utilitarian perspective, Joshua is the head of the Lawson family. Henry's family, which just gets dividends and holds idle position, can't compare with him at all. By marrying him, our family can at least save a generation's worth of hard work. We're actually reaching above our station by marrying him. Personally speaking, choosing a life partner is like choosing a business partner. I don't know if there are long-lasting and faithful partners in this world, but feelings are too ethereal. They may change or disappear. However, a person's character and upbringing won't change. So we should find someone who is inherently good, not someone we just think is good. My father was astonished by my attitude and was lost in thought for a long time. It seems that my daughter has grown up overnight. I smiled silently. After hitting a dead end once, I became sober instead. Perhaps. People all grow up through stumbles and falls. The process of getting the marriage certificate went smoothly. The elaborate makeup I had put on wasn't wasted either. I was very satisfied with the photo on the marriage certificate. The man beside me, with his elegant and clear face, rarely wore a faint smile. But when we walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau and got into the car, an indescribable sense of unease quietly spread. The task was completed, but I suddenly felt a bit embarrassed. Now, we seemed to be legally married, but we weren't very familiar with each other. A few days ago, I was still politely calling him uncle. The car was so quiet that it was a bit oppressive. With only the faint sound of breathing, I secretly glanced at Joshua. He was focused on driving, and the night made his profile look even more profound. This silence lasted for a long time, so long that I was almost suffocated by the stillness, until he parked the car. He slightly turned his head to look at me and broke the awkwardness. "Why did you make the decision so quickly?" I subconsciously lowered my eyes, my fingers unconsciously tugging at the hem of my clothes, and replied in a low voice, "Because I don't want to be the supporting female character in someone else's story." After saying that, I took a deep breath and summoned the courage to look at him. "Uncle, why me?" No matter from which aspect, I wasn't his best choice. He looked at me quietly, with emotions in his eyes that I couldn't understand. After a moment, he spoke softly. "How do you know that you're not the female lead in someone else's story?" I was stunned for a moment. He paused and then slowly said, "Actually, I suffered from severe anxiety disorder 6 years ago." His voice was very soft, but it was like a stone thrown into a calm lake, stirring up thousands of ripples in my heart. I just couldn't associate this high-spirited man in front of me with anxiety disorder. All along, he had been a legend in others' mouths, a child prodigy and the top scorer in the college entrance examination. At the age of 18, while other boys were still playing games in internet cafes, he had already earned his first pot of gold on Wall Street. In everyone's eyes, he was the chosen one. But he softly told me about his unknown pain. I was always highly expected by my family since I was a child and was strictly trained. I had excellent grades and outstanding abilities and was always an example to others. But actually, I didn't feel how happy I was. 6 years ago, when my anxiety disorder was at its worst, my kitten was thrown away by my parents. At that time, I had repeated insomnia, self-harmed, and even thought about suicide. Until one day, by chance, I saw it lazily curled up in the arms of a little girl. The two of them were nestled in a rocking chair, basking in the sun and dozing off. That scene was so warm. I watched it for a long time, so long that I felt the anxiety in my heart was about to be cured. When he said this, his eyes became gentle, and the corners of his mouth also turned up slightly. The seat by the window on the 3rd floor of the East Street Cafe happened to be able to see her yard. Later, I got into the habit of going there to have a cup of coffee every day. That girl often practiced the piano in the living room, and the kitten would circle around her feet. She didn't seem to like the piano very much. When she was annoyed, she wanted to smash the piano but didn't dare, so she could only angrily throw the sheet music. She liked collecting all kinds of cups. Before drinking something, she would first happily choose a cup she liked. Later, I also developed this hobby. His gaze was always on me, as if he was telling a beautiful story. I slightly opened my mouth and said in surprise, "So, Orange is your cat?" He nodded gently, his eyes full of tenderness. "So, why you? It feels very warm when I see you. Is this reason okay?" The car stopped by the seaside. I was silent and didn't say a word for a long time, still digesting what he had just said. Suddenly, fireworks were set off by the nearby shore. One gorgeous firework after another bloomed in the night sky, making the entire sea surface colorful. Joshua looked at me, the corners of his mouth turning up slightly, and said in a low voice, "Mona, happy birthday." I then suddenly realized that today was actually my birthday. In the past, I always spent it with Henry. Most of the time, he arranged the activities according to his own preferences. To be honest, I had never had the birthday I really wanted. At this moment, I suddenly remembered an Instagram I posted a long time ago. I really want to watch a sea fireworks show with the person I love the most. I turned my head and met Joshua's burning gaze. He looked straight at me, and his voice was soft and warm. "Mona, I will help you fulfill all your wishes one by one in the future." My heart trembled. His words were like a fire, instantly igniting the temperature in the car. I felt my face burning hot, and my heart was also pounding. In a flurry, I pressed the car window button, and the sea breeze rushed in, dissipating some of the heat. The moment I turned my head, our eyes met. The night was as clear as a wash, and the sea breeze ruffled his neatly arranged shirt. At that moment, I seemed to see his beating soul through his straight suit. There was also a trace of longing that I had never seen before. On an impulse, I leaned over and kissed him. This kiss was like the sudden outburst of long-suppressed emotions. His lips were a bit cool, with a faint mint smell, but it made people feel inexplicably at ease. He was slightly stiff at first, and then he responded to me passionately. When the kiss ended, neither of us said a word. In my ears, there were only the strong wind and the sound of the waves. It seemed that the whole world had quieted down, leaving only the two of us, and this indescribable ambiguity and heartache. Finally, he still sent me home. The matter of getting married was too sudden, so we each went back to our own homes. However, the two families were very happy, except for Henry's parents. The wedding was scheduled to be held this week. The speed was so fast that I was a bit overwhelmed. I lay on the bed, thinking about everything that happened today, feeling like I was in a dream. The lingering warmth on my lips reminded me of the kiss in the car, and my cheeks couldn't help but feel hot. He seemed like such a gentle and abstinent man. How could he be so sexy when kissing? His collar was slightly open, and the corners of his eyes were red. From the initial gentle restraint to the final crazy possession, it was just a kiss. How could it have such a long aftertaste? I rolled back and forth with the pillow in my arms. Why did I take the initiative to kiss him? It must be that the atmosphere was too good. Just as I was immersed in this sweetness and shyness, A message from Henry unexpectedly popped up on my phone. Mona, I had a bad attitude towards you that day. Don't be angry. I had no choice. If I didn't do that, my parents would never accept Polly. I don't want to leave myself with regrets. Please forgive my selfishness. Also, can you lend me some money? I promise to pay you back double when I make up with my family. I stared at the screen in disbelief. Borrow money. Did he think I was some kind of cheap person? I directly deleted and blocked him in one go. Before deleting, I happened to see Henry's latest Instagram post. He was selling his second-hand luxury goods. It had only been a few days, and he couldn't stand the hard life already. And he called himself crazy about love. A few minutes later, he actually called me again. Mona, why did you block me? I know you're still angry with me. I was really wrong that day. I made you. I frowned and interrupted him. Henry, I'm married. Don't contact me again in the future. I'm afraid my husband will misunderstand. He was stunned for a moment first, and then let out a soft laugh. Hey, you're married. Who's the groom? Do I know him? Didn't you always say that your future husband could only have the surname Pay? Me? You know him. And he really had the surname Pay. But he thought I was joking, and there was still a trace of teasing in his tone. Stop kidding. I was wrong. Okay. Actually, in my heart, you'll always have a special place. I rubbed my ears and hung up the phone directly. I also dragged his number into the blacklist. It was really disenchanting in an instant. How could I have been so blind as to like such a person for 7 years? My good mood was completely ruined by him. I thought that blocking Henry would solve the problem once and for all. Unexpectedly, when I went out the next day, he actually appeared at my door. Mona, I finally waited for you. He stood up and walked towards me, looking very tired in his eyes. I took a step back and asked him coldly, "What do you want?" He lowered his eyes, let out a slight sigh, and his voice was filled with fatigue. I've been so annoyed recently. I want to stay with you for a while. I just found it ridiculous and absurd. Henry, what do you take me for? He paused, and a trace of guilt appeared on his face. Sorry, I know that what happened that day hurt you. Now that I think about it, I was really wrong. I apologize to you. Actually, I haven't been having a good time these days. It's completely different from what I imagined. I accompanied Polly to live a hard life for her. But what about her? Not only does she not understand me, but she also forces me to quarrel with my family every day. She watches me like a criminal every day and has completely lost her original tenderness and cuteness. I listened to his complaining like a grumbling woman and reminded him impatiently. Henry, I'm not interested in your business. Also, I'm married. But he didn't care. I asked around among the people I know yesterday, and they all said that you didn't have a boyfriend. Is there a possibility that you didn't ask everyone? I sneered. You used to be angry with me and said you found a new boyfriend. Now you're directly married. Aren't you just trying to make me coax you? Okay. The fact that you're angry with me proves that you still care about me. He just wouldn't stop. I couldn't stand it anymore. Are you going to leave or not? If you don't leave, I'll call my dad down to beat you up. Henry stood there in a daze, looking at me in disbelief. I rarely lost my temper with him. When I was angry in the past, he would just lower his head and coax me, and I would forgive him. He definitely didn't expect me to be like this today. He angrily threw down the words. Mona, there's a limit to your temper tantrum. If you have the guts, never come to me on your own initiative. He's crazy. There were a lot of trivial matters before the wedding. I was almost too busy to cope. Everything on that day was the best. The wedding scene was like a sea of flowers, with music flowing through it. It was like entering a fairy tale world. Every decoration and every detail was determined by Joshua himself. Although the wedding was arranged in a hurry, everything was more thoughtful than I could have imagined, and it was also more satisfying than I could have imagined. However, before the ceremony started, someone suddenly came to report. Henry is here, and he's bringing a girl with him. He said he's here to congratulate Uncle on his wedding. Henry's parents' faces instantly turned extremely ugly. Don't let them in. But Joshua looked calm. Since they're already here, let them come in and have a glass of wedding wine. After a while, Henry appeared. Polly beside him was tightly holding his arm. She had a seemingly proper smile on her face, but there was a hint of uneasiness hidden in her eyes. Uncle, happy wedding. This is my girlfriend, Polly. After saying that, he looked around. By the way, where's my aunt? I just turned around, My white wedding dress was shining brightly under the light. Henry's gaze fell on me, and he stood there in a daze, not reacting for a long time. It can't be Mona. Why are you wearing a wedding dress at my uncle's wedding? After he froze in place for a few seconds, it was as if he suddenly came to his senses. No. How could it be you? How could you be the one marrying Uncle? Uncle, didn't you have an arranged marriage with the sister of the Chin family? Several elders of the Lawson family shook their heads. Is this kid confused? Henry angrily shook off Polly and said eagerly, Uncle, you can't marry Mona. She's my. Joshua's gaze turned cold. She's your what? Just a friend. Innocent, isn't she? His voice wasn't loud, but it was like a sharp blade, stabbing straight at Henry. Henry opened his mouth, but he couldn't say anything. Polly tugged at his sleeve beside him, her eyes full of anxiety. At this moment, someone couldn't stand it anymore and reminded Henry, what are you standing there for? Why don't you offer a toast to your little aunt? Henry came to his senses. His hand holding the wine glass was trembling. Mona. Joshua frowned and reminded him coldly. Don't you have any manners? You should change your address. Henry gritted his teeth and squeezed out a few words. I wish Uncle and Aunt a happy wedding. Henry's parents looked gloomy and said in a cold voice, after you've offered the toast, you can leave. Since you've decided to give up everything of the Lawson family to pursue true love, we won't stop you. Henry looked embarrassed and tried to explain. Mom and Dad, Polly beside him placed her hand on her abdomen and had a pitiful expression on her face. Uncle and Aunt, I'm pregnant with Henry's child. The baby in my belly is your grandson. Please forgive us. I know you have prejudices against me, but the child is innocent. However, Henry's parents just gave a cold snort and showed disdain in their eyes. Miss Polly, it's not that we have prejudices against you. We just simply look down on you. The tricks that your mother failed to use back then, you're using them again now. Do you think you can succeed? We'll tell you clearly that this trick won't work on us. We're not short of a grandson. Moreover, there are plenty of women in the world who can have children. How rare do you think you are? Then they looked at Henry with a serious face. Also, Henry, if you insist on marrying her, it's okay. I'll give you the household register, and you can go and register now. But from now on, you won't have a single penny of the Lawson family's property. I want to see which woman will still be deeply in love with you when you're penniless. Now that you've had the wedding wine, leave quickly. Don't spoil the happy occasion and bring bad luck. The guests around started whispering. A trace of panic flashed across Henry's face. He left the scene in a hurry with Polly. The always proud young master had never endured such embarrassment before. Are you satisfied? These are all the tricks you came up with. All because of you. Otherwise Mona wouldn't have married someone else. Henry shook off Polly's hand and roared in a low voice. Polly was stung by his words and immediately started crying. Henry, what do you mean? Do you still like Mona? I think you just can't forget her. Henry was full of annoyance and shouted at her. So what if I can't forget her? We had a 7-year relationship. If it weren't for you, I might have married her. Polly cried even harder. You said you liked me. You can't treat me like this. Henry, haven't I been good to you? I've lost everything for you. You still have Mona in your heart. Tell me, did she secretly contact you? She's such a scheming bitch. Don't you dare say that about her. She's much kinder than you. You took the money from my family and went abroad 4 years ago. What are you doing back now? Polly, do you really love me? Or do you love the Lawson family behind me? The argument between the two became more and more intense. From being the first love by the bedside to being like the rice grains on the clothes. It had only been a few days. Henry stared blankly in the direction of the wedding. Mona looked so beautiful today. Clearly, such a beautiful her should have belonged to him. He regretted it. Over the past 7 years, he had gotten used to her kindness and gradually taken it for granted. In his heart, Mona would marry him sooner or later. If Polly hadn't appeared, he had always thought that he loved Polly the most. She was his first love in his youth and a lifetime's regret. But when he was really with her, he realized that it was just SOSO. He didn't really like her. It was just an obsession with what he hadn't gotten. What he thought was innocence and kindness were all whitewashed and had a purpose. He thought that Mona would still be waiting for him where she was. When she was angry, he would just coax her well, no matter what. After all, he really knew he was wrong. But she actually turned around and married someone else. He looked at her in the wedding dress, and his heart was bleeding. How could this be? She clearly liked him the most, didn't she? How could he have lost her? He had never seen Mona look so beautiful. Perhaps she had always been beautiful, but he just hadn't noticed. Now, the way she didn't love him was the most beautiful. The music at the wedding scene started playing, and the ceremony was about to begin. He couldn't hold it in anymore. He ran in like crazy and grabbed her hand. Mona, I was wrong. Please, don't get married. I like you. I was stupid. I just realized it now. Please don't get married. Can you forgive me one more time? You love me too, don't you? She didn't soften her heart as she used to. She frowned and had a look of disgust on her face. She smiled indifferently at him. Henry, from the moment you said I was your good buddy, all the love disappeared. I sadly found that my 7 years couldn't compare to someone else's long time no see. Looking at her cold and resolute appearance, he was completely panicked. He wasn't willing to give up. He begged his uncle, Uncle, she doesn't like you. She only has me in her heart. Can you not get married? He thought that they were just having a business marriage and had no feelings for each other. His uncle was so excellent that he didn't have to marry her. He even thought, taking a step back, that he could be Mona's lover that couldn't be seen after her marriage. But he was terribly wrong. His uncle, who was always calm and self-controlled, had a cold look in his eyes, and a trace of anger flashed across his face. Having a good opinion of yourself isn't a bad thing, but excessive daydreaming is shameless. Henry, what were you thinking when you let others look down on her and made her suffer grievances? Joshua's words were like a loud slap in the face, waking Henry up. He had personally lost the girl who had eyes only for him. His hand couldn't help but tremble. I was wearing a spotless white wedding dress and watched as Joshua gently lifted my veil and put a ring on my finger. Amid the applause of everyone, we kissed deeply. At that moment, time seemed to stand still. Only the sound of each other's heartbeats could be clearly heard. I tilted my head slightly and met his eyes filled with love and affection. Joshua, thank you. He kissed away the tears at the corner of my eye and said softly, Mona, some people are born to be held in the palm of one's hand. The end.